It's true, I'm gonna teach you Python in just 20 minutes. Yes, 20 minutes. Before this video begins, I really kindly appreciate it if you'd slap that subscribe button, leave a like for the YouTube algorithm, and yeah. This tutorial will teach you Python in 20 minutes. Of course, before this video, of course, you're not gonna get a job at Google, and this will only teach you the very basics of Python. It will not teach you everything. Of course, there are other basics of Python, but these are just the basics and the very true basics. And of course, this is not all that you need to know about Python. So I hope you enjoy, and let's begin. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna learn about is downloading Python. Now, normally for other programming languages like JavaScript, HTML, or CSS, it is automatically downloaded on your computer. Now, I think for Mac it is automatically downloaded, but for Windows it is not automatically downloaded. So I'll teach you how to download it right now. To download it, go to any browser that you can. I'll just delete all this, and then what you have to do is go to the website python.org. So I'll go to the website right now, and then what you need to do is go to downloads and just click on it. And as you can see, the current version that I have is around, yes, so the current version that I have is 3.9, and that is the latest version right now. But in the future, if you're watching this, there might be another version. Now the thing is that since you're learning the basics, I don't think there will be that big of a difference. So I recommend downloading the latest version. But of course, if there is a difference, then just download this version. So that is done. So after download the version, run the file, and boom, there we go. So the second thing that you'll need to do is to download the IDE. Now normally Notepad works just fine. Notepad works just fine, so if you want to type code on here, it will work just fine. But the idea is that there are other complex IDEs out there. So for example, Visual Studio Code is a very good IDE, I would say, to code in, right? As you can see, there's a huge difference, and let me actually explain something, right? So let me open Visual Studio Code, and first let me just open that, and let me go to File, and let me open a new folder, and let me just save this in my data drive, and I will just create a new folder. Actually, so for example, I have this, and I can create folders in the file. So for example, I'll just do this, and I'll just create a folder of something like test. So now I can open folders here, right? So the other thing is that I can open folders here. So for example, I did test, I can open a file, for example 1.py, right? And then I could do like 2.py, right? And in here I can like just seamlessly go through them. So it's much more better, but of course you can still use Notepad. So after you have done that, let's talk about the first ever command that you'll type, and the easiest command, and this is called the print statement. So this command just basically prints stuff on the screen. So let's actually do this. So before I do, I want to say that when you're creating your file, please make sure to name it .py. Do not make it .txt. Make sure the extension name is .py, or else it will not work for you, and your desktop will not know if this is a py file or if this is an HTML file. So after you have done that, type the word. So the keyword is print, and as you can see, there are other stuff as well that helps. So as you can see, whenever I was typing print, as you can see, now when I was typing, you can see that it just tells what it is. So that is pretty cool. So I could just type print, and then type brackets, and then type quotations, and then type anything, which can be anything. So I could write hello world, and if I run this file, it prints out hello world. So as you can see, here we go. So now let's learn about what are we doing here. Let's learn about that. So what we are learning here is very simple. So I'll just delete this, I don't need this. Okay, so what we're basically doing is, firstly, we're telling the computer to print something, then we're adding these brackets, right? And then we're adding quotation. Now why are we adding quotation? Now I'm not gonna too in depth with this, but basically, whenever you're writing letters or anything like this, for example, you have to use strings. And for now, let's just think of it like this. And let's just think of it as this. Of course, this tutorial will not teach you everything that you need to know about Python. So for now, just imagine this, right? So for now, imagine that there's a difference between this and there's a difference between this, right? So whenever writing strings or writing something like this in Python, please make sure to add these quotations, as it will not work. So if I were to delete these quotations, as you can see, it gives us an error. So when we run it, there we go, it will syntax error. Now the same rule doesn't go for numbers. So if I were to print, for example, 10, boom, it prints out 10. But I could still add quotations, and it can still print 10. So I could do something like A1, and there, it still prints out 10. So that's pretty cool. Now, third thing I think, now the next thing you'll learn is about variables. So basically, in simple form, variables are a piece of information. So they are a piece of information. Okay. So let's declare a variable. So I have, for example, the variable name, and this variable name is equals to, for example, Muhammad. As you can see, Muhammad. Now I want to tell you what's the problem with this equation. What's the problem right now? And I hope you guessed it correctly. So let's see. I'm gonna give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, I told you that whenever we're writing strings, we have to write these. So this is a string, and of course we have to write this here. Now it works. So now when we run this, let's run this file. Nothing happens. Boom. It prints out this, and then it just ends. Right? What's the how should we print this? So now we can do this. We'll print this here, and then we will do this. Let's print this up. And oh, what? There's another quiz. What is the problem with this statement? What's the problem with this statement? If you guessed it, you're very smart. So again, strings are something like this. Now when we're writing this, Python says, okay, so we need to print it. Okay, I need to print the word name, because again, name, there's a string, right? So we need to print out the string. So just print out name, but Python doesn't know that, right? So what we have to do is that the variable is not a string. Again, the variable is a variable, it's not a string. So what we can do is take this out. Okay, wait. We can just do brackets and then put the variable name, as you can see it shows here, and then when we print this value, we can see it prints out Muhammad. Now the third, or whatever, the next step is concatenating variables. Now concatenate is just a fancy word for basically combining two variables together. So for example, if I wanted to combine the variable, for example, 1, and then the variable name is 1, and then to combine 2 and the variable name is 2, and then I could just this again, right? And then I could just do, for example, answer is equal to, and then I could just do something like 1 plus 2. There we go. And then I could print that answer. So I could print answer, and that would print out 12. So if we run this file, we should see 12. Okay, so we cannot assign these to literals. Let's change this up. So let's just change this to, for example, A, and let's just change this, for example, B. Now when we run this file, we should see A plus B. If you run this again, as you can see, it prints out 12. The issue I was having was that basically we were printing out the word 1, and I assigned 1 to 1, so it just completely defeats the point of the variable, right? So that was the issue that I was having. So this is called variable concatenation. So the next thing that you're gonna learn is about input commands. So input is basically asking the person or whatever it is a question. So let's do this. So let's ask the person a question. So which question should we ask? So let's say what's your name, right? So first we could do an input command. We could do quotation, and of course we have to do strings, and we could do what is your name, and we'll also add this, and then we'll put a space, right? Because then when for example I run this, it'll ask here, or else it would be all the way here, right? Then we can add a name. So for example, my name is Daniel, and as you can see, stops. Okay, and now let's do something. What I want you guys to do is and this is a little quiz. I want you guys to print out. I want you guys to do this, but this question then gets printed out, right? So this is a question. Input what is your name, and then this question gets printed out. So I would make it a little harder. So this question, what is your name, right? And then this gets printed out saying my name or your name is space and then the question. So I'm gonna give you some time, pause the video and try to do it, and then you'll see later. Okay, I hope you have done the question. If you haven't, that's still fine. I really don't think you guys will do it. If you do it, that's perfect. So the first thing you have to do is store this in the variable. So we'll call this variable name. And after storing this in the variable, now we have to print it. So normally we could print out the word name. So what this command does, basically, it saves the variable name. So basically it takes this, and the output of this, it saves it in the variable name. And then it prints out the variable. So if I were to run this, what's my name? I'll type my name, and as you can see, it prints out Daniel. But now I asked you guys to print out your name is and then the variable. So to do that, I really don't think you will get it, but we have to add quotations and say your name is, and then plus, and then the name of the variable. And now if we run this and I just type my name really quickly, your name is Daniel. Now we see that we have an issue. You're seeing that we don't have a space here, and to solve it, we can just add this. So now when we print this again, we could just do this, and your name is Daniel. So there we go. That's all that you need to know about the input commands. So next thing I'm going to learn about is Boolean values and if statements. So let's do this. So let's talk about Boolean values and if statements. So basically Boolean values have two things: true, or they can have false, right? So something's true or something's false. And if statements are that a block of code will run if something happens or something's true, false, whatever. So I try to combine this two, right? So teach you both. Let's say for example it's saying something like hot underscore day. I also want to point out in this that variables you cannot put spaces between variables. That's not, so you have to put underscores. So hot day, and then you can do equals, and then you can do true, false. So when you're ready to true, now I want to say that since this is a Boolean value, we do not have to add these, or else Python will be confused and interpret this as a string. So we have to type this as a true. We do not add quotations. Okay. So now we know that hot day is equals to true, and now we can add an if statement. So how does it work? First we type if hot day is equals to true, and then this. So what is happening here? Firstly, we're telling Python, okay, so the variable hot day is true, so it is true, right? And then you're saying if the variable which is hot day equals to true, then do something, and then do this. And as you can see, it prints an indent. Now normally in other programming languages, I would explain here, in other programming languages we would do something like this, and then we type this, right? But normally, in Java, yeah, it's in Java I think, but in Python you don't need that. You do as an indent. So now this block, as you can see, it does an indent, will only be executed if the value is true. So let's, for example, print something like print it's a hot day. There we go. We'll save that up, and when we run this, it's hot day. If I change this value to false, as you can see, it doesn't do anything because the block doesn't get. And to end the block, we could do backspace, or we could do shift plus tab. When I'm talking what is comments. So let's say for example you're printing stuff like print hi, and the idea is that when you're real programming and when you're programming, you don't want to deal with like 5 lines of you're not gonna deal with like 5 lines of code like this, right? You want to instead deal with code lines like this, right? Like a lot of code. So to do this, we use something in comments. So if I do something like this, and I do print, and I do hello world, and I print this up, nothing happens. It's because whenever Python sees this, it doesn't interpret it. The Python doesn't execute this command, and it's basically used to organize a command. So if I do, for example, print hello world, and then I say oh, and then I do print hi, and then I also do print how are you, right? But I could organize this code, and of course this is very simple example. So I could say like print hi, right? And I could do like something like print hello print how are you. You get the point, right? That's comments. It's a very good practice that you should have when other people are noticing the code, right? It's what a pro coder should do. And yeah, so the next thing that you want to learn is while loops. So while loops basically executes a piece of code if something is true, false, whatever. Let's say again hot underscore day is equals to true. Again, we'll just take that, and then we'll print something. So no, that's not. We'll print while hot day is equals true. This and then this. It'll print out it's a hot day. Now, what is the difference between while command and for a while command? And I'll show you what. But for basically when a while command does it, so if I just change this, so if I just copy this here and just paste that up and just change this to if let me see what happens. Firstly, Python goes okay, hot days equals true. Then it goes over here and says okay, while hot days equals true. And basically, it's gonna keep on printing this code. So while hot days equals true, say okay, while hot days equals true. So is the variable true? Yes, it's true, and it'll print it. Then it'll go again and say okay, is it true? Yes, it'll true, and it'll keep on doing that, keep on doing that, right? Until it's not true. So if I just copy, if I just do this, and if I print this command, as you can see, okay, wait, I'll go over here again, and if you can see, boom, it's keep on printing that. Because you can see, if I try to copy anything, you can see that it keeps on printing that. It keeps on. You can see that this cursor goes down and down and down, as you can see. So it keeps on printing that until it's false, right? What we're learning is for loops, and this is a large topic that we're going to be talking about. So let's talk about for loops. So for loops are basically taking stuff up. So before we do talk about for loops, let's talk about lists, because we need lists. And basically when we're writing variables, for example, name is equals to for example Josh. We have a Josh right here, right? What if I'm to store multiple variables? So that's what a variable is. So we can do something like name equals to brackets, these square type of brackets, this, and then we can type, for example, name. So Josh, we can type Josh, and then we can type a comma, and we can type his brother John. Okay, John. Now let's talk about this. Now let's talk about for loops as well. So basically, when we say something like for, and actually this is names. So basically, for name in names, print out name. So basically, what is this doing? So basically, it's taking the command for name in names, and basically for every single letter in Josh, no, not letter, sorry, for every single value, we have Josh and then we have John. So we have for name in names. So for the name in names, every time. So for example, it says first for name in names. Basically, it takes the first value, it's John. So that means that in the first value, the value of name is John or Josh, and then go second time, and then the value is John. So if I run this, as you can see, okay, it's still running that code. Okay, I'll do this again. We'll run this again. There we go, Josh and John. So basically goes first and says okay, so first time, and then goes first value Josh, and then goes second time, and then goes John. That is going to be it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.